auditing file and folder access. Alright, who did it? Now that's a common cry when a file or folder gets deleted. Well, if you want to be able to answer that very question and know exactly who is doing what as far as your network goes, then you need to take a good look at auditing. Now there are two ways that we can configure auditing. The first is on a per machine basis, and that's very time consuming, especially if you've got a lot of servers that you wish to configure auditing on. Now the second method is to configure the domain controller security policy for auditing. And of course that's going to override any local security policy that you may have configured, but that's okay. So the first thing we need to do is turn on auditing. So to turn on auditing, what we're going to do is we're going to click on Start, Administrative Tools, and we're going to go to our Domain Controller Security Policy. Okay, now we'll go and expand Local Policies, and then we'll click on Audit Policy. Now to enable auditing for our files and folders, we need to enable the Audit Object Access Policy. Because after all, files and folders are simply just objects. So we'll right click on Audit Object Access and we'll select Properties. Now we need to make sure that Define these policy settings box is checked, and then we can choose whether we want to enable successful access to our objects or failed attempts to access our objects, or of course even both. So for this example, I'm going to choose to audit both and I'll click OK. Now over here under our policy setting column, we can see that we're currently going to audit access for success and failures. Okay, now that auditing has been turned on, we actually need to configure an object in which to audit. So what we're going to do is I'll close this down now, and I'm going to right click on my desktop, and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'll just call this number 1. Now what we're going to do is audit access to our folder 1 and any other files or folders below it. So I'll right click on the folder and I'll select Properties, and then we'll select the Security tab, and then we'll come down here and click on the Advanced button. Now finally we need to select the Auditing tab. So the first thing we'll need to do is add a user or a group to audit. So if we want to audit all access, we'd add the Everyone group in here. But if you have your suspicions that Joe from marketing's a dodgy so-and-so, then you can just add Joe's account in here. But for our example, I'm going to click on Add, Advanced, Find Now, and I'm going to scroll down and choose the Everyone group. And I'll choose OK and OK again. Okay, we've just had a new window pop up, and this lets us specify which permissions we want to audit. Now quite clearly you can elect to audit by success or by failure by simply just checking the appropriate box. So if you want to audit everything, then we could select all by choosing full control for both successes and failures. Now if you do make a mistake and want to change the user or group that you're auditing against, we could just click on the Change button and then go and locate our new target by clicking on Advanced and Find Now. But I'll just cancel out of that. We know we've got the right group, which is the Everyone group, so we'll just click OK and we're done. Now you'll also notice here that the Allow Inheritable Auditing Entries is checked. Now this performs the same function that we saw when we looked at inheritable permissions in our previous video. So basically it will enable auditing to propagate to all files and folders that are below this folder. Okay, as far as our configuration of auditing goes, we're done. We can simply click on OK and then OK again, and now auditing is in effect. Now a word of advice. Doing what I've just done here and enabling auditing of success and failures against the Everybody group will probably cause a huge event storm if the directory tree is heavily accessed. So normally you wouldn't go and do this. So let's go and take a look at our events in action. Now we're currently logged in as administrator. So if we go and double click and we'll right click inside here, we'll create a new bitmap image and we'll create a new Excel document. Now what we'll do is we'll go and click on Start, Administrative Tools, and then we'll launch our event viewer. Okay, now as we've been doing some auditing, what we need to do is come over here and take a look at our security log. So we'll double click and I'll just expand this to make it a little easier to see. And we can certainly see a whole bunch of object accesses here in our categories. Okay, so what we're looking here for now in our security log is proof that the administrator has been mucking around in this folder. So what we'll be looking for is events with the ID of 560. So if we double click on one of those, now we can see here that our administrator has successfully accessed, and we can see the type is a successful event here, our new Microsoft Excel worksheet. Now we can also see that what they did was open the file. We see an object open here, and of course we see the type was a file. And here we can see our object name. The file was located under our Documents and Settings, Administrator, Desktop, the folder 1, and then of course the file was new Microsoft Excel worksheet.xls. So there you see auditing in action. Now, unlike NTFS and share permissions that we looked at earlier, auditing doesn't actually provide any security, although it will tell you who has been trying to access your files and folders. So take a good look at auditing. Rather than waiting around for somebody to gain access to your confidential files, you could simply configure auditing and you'll know instantly who is trying to get access to your files and folders. And at that point, you can then go and nip it in the bud before any confidential information has been compromised. Now don't forget, you will have to enable auditing first before any of these objects will actually be audited in your event viewer. So you should spend some time planning which objects you'd like to audit, because blindly dropping auditing into your network is not a good idea. And doing what we demonstrated here by dropping the everyone group for successes and failures of everything is certainly not a good idea, as you will incur a performance hit. So think carefully about what types of objects you need to provide accountability for, and then conduct an auditing plan based around your security requirements.